Infiniti Retail Leadership Forum. In our keynote presentation, Tim Cox touched on some research about changing buyer behaviors and the implications for the automotive e-commerce experience. Above all, customers want the process to be easy and seamless. Adopting a one-person selling model has helped many dealerships provide a smoother process for customers with fewer handoffs. We asked Brian Allee, Head of Sales and Client Experience for A to Z Sync, to share how he goes about advising his dealership clients about the benefits of one-person selling and the positive impact it can have on profitability and customer satisfaction.
Hi, my name is Brian Allee, and I'm Head of Sales and Client Success with A to Z Sync. A to Z Sync is a software company created by a dealer for dealers. We provide software training, implementation, and the guidance needed to help dealers transform their business into a one-person sales model. Prior to A to Z Sync, I was in the automotive retail space for over 15 years, and a majority of those years were spent as part of the leadership team with the Schomp Automotive Group in Denver, Colorado. I helped lead the transition of newly acquired Schomp stores from the traditional selling model to the one-person sales model. I've had the privilege of training hundreds of sales team members throughout my career and have helped guide other dealers in addition to Schomp on best practices under the one-person sales model. Like Tim and Candace, I know that a people strategy tailored to your dealership is the foundation for a successful e-commerce rollout and execution. The customer experience is at the forefront of every retailer's goal set for 2021. And I know Infiniti has a very specific vision about that. In a recent Drive Time interview, Phil York, Infiniti's General Manager of Global Brand Marketing, stated that Infiniti is a brand catering to daring and open-minded buyers, with its core message being, luxury should be lived in. Your target customers are going to consider luxury to be about experiences, pleasure, enjoyment, and making the most of their time. Now ask yourself, is your staff providing that type of experience with every customer during every transaction? I'm here to show you how you can achieve higher gross profit and a better customer experience through the e-commerce platform that helps to retain employees and streamline your staffing. I'll even share specific results from one of your own, Motorworks Infiniti. Are you ready to catch a glimpse of your bright future through a one-person selling e-commerce solution? All right, let's get into it. Whether you refer to it as single point of contact, cradle to grave, A to Z, or one touch, one-person selling is something that means different things to different people. For our purposes, it refers to retaining, hiring, and training the best candidates to operate as a single point of contact for buyers, supported by sales management and F&I support staff. That's important, so let me repeat it. A single point of contact supported by sales management and F&I. In this model, sales managers serve the frontline salespeople through real-time coaching and guidance during the sales process. As you can see, there's only one customer-facing person in the driver's seat navigating the client through the transaction from online to in-store while being coached and supported by management behind the scenes. Sales managers can function as coaches by providing real-time coaching during a transaction, holding weekly one-on-one sessions with team members, and reinforcing desired practices by coaching salesperson effort to dealership metrics, and scheduling regular career pathing and performance reviews. And finance managers have an important role to play as well by guiding sales managers and support staff on lending best practices, training hourly processors on bank selection and funding, and overseeing credit-challenged customer transactions. I've provided a job description of the ideal sales candidate in the one-person selling model, as well as descriptions of the sales manager role and the finance manager role, so be sure to download those resources. Now, for the record, the one-person sales model isn't for everyone, and we certainly aren't suggesting that just any salesperson is a good fit for the sales process. I'll speak more on that later, but for now, let's talk about your role as a dealership leader. As with any significant change, success starts at the top, with you, the leaders of the brand. Unfortunately, there is no easy button. It takes an unwavering commitment from the top down to achieve maximum results. If you're looking for 6-minute abs, you're not going to find them here. It takes hard work and dedication, but we all know achieving great results doesn't come without some pain along the way. Once you've fully committed to the one-person selling process, the next step is to take a peek under the hood of your dealership. The culture and the people in your store should be assessed before strategies and tactics can be deployed to support your initiative. Each time we work with a new store to install our platform, we address current staffing needs, sales processes, and take a holistic approach toward the long-term success of your dealership. So whether you go at it alone, DIY style, or hire someone to guide you along the way, be sure you have the right people and the right seats on the bus before taking off towards your final destination. Based on research, we know that a perennial pain point has to do with the number of people buyers have to interact with when purchasing a vehicle. In a recent study conducted by Automotive News and the JM&A Group, 85% of the buyers surveyed stated they would prefer working with one person from start to finish, and the survey also asked, when do humans matter the most? More specifically, areas where consumers prefer working in person with someone at the dealership versus e-commerce. 56% said when evaluating F&I products and packages, 70% said when it comes to negotiating a car deal, and 72% while signing paperwork and completing the F&I process. So what does this tell us? Buyers prefer to conduct most of their research and buying process through e-commerce, but prefer human interaction during the more complicated parts of the deal. When we suggest one-person selling, we also address some of the common concerns that dealerships have about changing to that model, and then share some of the benefits. All right, now, let's touch on some top concerns we hear about the one-person sales model. By far, the number one concern is, I'm not sure all my people can do this. We've talked with dealers all across America and found that when it comes to salespeople, they typically fall into one of three categories. The veteran. These folks can sell cars in their sleep. They're the ones capable of becoming managers, but choose to stay on the sales floor so they can control their schedule and work their pipeline. Once they see the benefit of taking even more control over their schedule, provide an even better service to their clients, and potentially increase their income through F&I products, they typically come around. The up-and-comer. Those who fall into this category are your most valuable players. They have a great attitude, love to learn new skill sets, and can follow process. These team members are the future of your dealership, and it's a perfect time to career path them towards their future. And then there's everyone else. There are typically a few questionable staff members that will either need extra coaching or might serve another role such as product expert, processing team member, or perhaps they're just not a good fit for the future of the business. The good news, once you've formulated a solid team, our clients experience employee retention levels between 70 and 90%. That's a huge increase from the industry average of 57%. How much could that add to your bottom line? Now you're probably wondering, how do I hire for this role? This is where it gets really fun. We found some surprising results on this topic. Some of the best numbers I've ever witnessed come from people who have never sold a thing in their life. New recruits from the service industry, law enforcement, hospitality, and many other customer-facing roles have outperformed veterans in the dealership. One superstar that comes to mind is a gentleman by the name of Ben Brailer. Ben was a waiter at a local sushi restaurant, and every time we visited this restaurant, we asked for Ben to serve us. You've all experienced the waiter or waitress that goes above and beyond the call of duty. They're prompt, professional, provide top-notch service, and exceed your expectations. We offered Ben a job selling cars, and he was reluctant to say the least. But with some persistence, Ben eventually joined the team at one of the shop luxury stores. And within 6 months, Ben was the top producer in both units and F&I PVR. He was a model practitioner of one-person selling, providing excellent customer service while following the set process. Ben went on to become a team lead and was able to replicate his success on the sales floor with a team of 7 salespeople. Now, Ben is just one example of many that with proper training, guidance, and a process that has a proven track record, you can cast a much wider net when recruiting for this new role. The second biggest concern is, will my PVR drop? Naturally, the main concern is how this model might affect a dealer's F&I profitability. Some dealers will experience the J-curve effect, showing an initial loss followed by a dramatic gain. We set the expectation for dealers to prepare for a temporary dip in F&I the first 90 days while the team is learning and adapting to their new roles. Depending on the individual store's current state, you may experience an immediate increase, a short-term decrease, or stay flat for a period of time. Overall, our clients have experienced an increase of $200 to $400 per vehicle and as much as $1,000 or more. In the case of Motorworks Infiniti, they took flight immediately following the training and launch of one-person selling. They increased F&I PVR from $1,500 to $2,500 per vehicle, all without sacrificing front-end gross or market share percentage. Regardless of the short-term results, the importance of a culture of training within your store is critical. The common denominator of our successful dealers is just that. Make training your lifeline and stick with it. As Tim mentioned earlier in his keynote, if great athletes use a coach and continue to work on their game, why should you, your sales managers, or your sales team be any different? The third biggest concern is, will this work in my market? Absolutely. There are several variables at play when it comes to your particular dealership. You have inventory constraints, margin compression, chip shortages, demographics, average credit scores, and all sorts of other factors. But I think we can all agree that most people want a better experience. At least that's what they've been telling us for decades on survey after survey. This is a constant regardless of your market. And the one-person selling model may be the value-add differentiator you need to deliver on that experience and to ultimately outperform your competition. And finally, what happens to my finance managers? Some dealers are concerned about potentially losing one of their strongest ROI markers in the dealership. Finance managers are among the sharpest, well-trained, and most experienced employees in your organization. They can play a critical role in the overall success of the future business model. Some finance managers can assume the role of a sales manager or lead a small team of hourly employees who do paperwork processing for loan submission, chase CIT, and getting deals bought. There's still a human element at play during the transaction. You need a skilled individual to help make decisions on which banks to use for credit-challenged buyers. In other words, your finance managers can play an important role in the one-person sales model. All right, now that we've covered what one-person selling is and some of the concerns, let's go over an example of a luxury dealership that implemented the model. I've worked with a lot of luxury brands and have witnessed some amazing results. At the beginning of the session, I mentioned the Motorworks Infiniti store out of Barrington, Illinois. They've been a wonderful partner over the years and were kind enough to let us in on their vision along with some of the results. The leadership team implemented a few strategies to help reduce some of the pain points during the transformation. Before they launched the new model, they established a vision for how the new sales process should operate, the people needed to support the process, and keep their sales staff focused on the desired outcome. When we spoke with Ryan Durso, who's in charge of the one-person sales model for Motorworks, he said, we wanted 100% commitment. So we offered a guaranteed income for the first 60 days so they could focus on learning and staying committed to the process. Next, it was important to align the skills of the current sales staff to the skills needed for one-person selling. Motorworks Infiniti maintained all but one staff member, and that person asked to come back to the store after hearing about the success of the new model. When we asked Ryan how they felt about potential attrition before launch, he said, well, we thought if we lose anyone, it would probably be a veteran, but they all stayed. The one we lost was a newer sales rep who decided it just wasn't for them. Now, many dealers underestimate the ability and skill set of their sales team members. We recommend performing an in-depth assessment of your current team before making assumptions about who will stay or who you might lose. As I mentioned earlier, you may lose a few employees, and the outcome varies from store to store. The goal is to retain the good people in your store. In this example, they retained all their sales staff members except one person who decided later they wanted to come back. Employee pay plans will factor into keeping the good people. You'll hear Candace Crane speak in detail in her session. Another issue this store needed to solve for was frontline manager buy-in. The dealership designated an in-store champion who actively worked deals side by side with other managers to prove the process worked and to reinforce the training program. That approach took 2 weeks during implementation and is currently being sustained by dealership management. All right, so what were the results for the Motorworks Infiniti store? They launched the one-person sales model in January of 2020. The F&I PVR before launch was $1,400 to $1,600, and the F&I PVR after launch had increased to $2,500 to $2,800 a copy. The new car front-end gross was maintained at net, so there was no loss there, and used car gross increased by $300 to $500 per unit. And they achieved a Google rating of 4.7 stars out of 517 reviews. Ryan has this advice for other dealers that are considering the model. He says anyone who is looking at the selling process thinking it's not going to work, you're unfortunately lying to yourself. Our Google and dealer rater reviews, along with an increase in market share, show that this model works wonders for your store. By the way, these quotes I've been sharing from Ryan are part of an interview series you can watch in its entirety on our YouTube channel. Now, I mentioned earlier that this model can work in different markets. We also worked with Mercedes-Benz of Farmington, a single-point dealership in a relatively small market north of Salt Lake City. One of their specific challenges was how to compete effectively with the multi-franchise operations and other deeply rooted giants who had dominated the area for years. With our help, they enabled one-person selling and eliminated the traditional finance office because the client advisors were trained and coached to present payment options and back-end products. So what were the results? For Mercedes-Benz of Farmington, their new car finance PVR averaged $2,100 to $2,300. The lead to sale conversion from all lead sources averaged 20 to 25%. That's 10% above industry average. They were also voted the top Mercedes-Benz dealer in Utah 2 years running. That's almost unheard of. And they reduced the number of steps in the sales process while improving the customer experience. Again, this successful implementation required training, coaching, and support from management, as well as an integrated e-commerce solution. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for this opportunity to present one-person selling, as well as some key examples of success we've seen with our dealers. By using effective e-commerce tools and integrating the one-person sales model we just reviewed, you can future-proof your store, streamline your staffing, improve the customer experience, and increase PVR gross all at the same time. We can all agree that Infiniti has a bright future, and all of you, the dealer network, are what will make that future come to life.